was that I'd found myself in this other place. Definitely wasn't here. It was like basically the afterlife or a spiritual realm, or what. I mean, I was definitely out of my body. There was an ocean in front of me. It was an ocean of souls. Like I could see all the souls that had ever lived, and they were just like flowing in all directions, and it just went further than the eye could ever see, and it just was like this massive energy field just flowing and waving. But it was souls, it was all people, and many of them were coming and going to and from, and I could see them coming and going from the earth, from here, just kind of on the other side of the veil, if you will, as they say. There was a lot of purpose in movement. You just kind of have this general understanding of everything. I could tell everyone had purpose. Everyone was doing something very purposeful. I don't know how the word to say it. It was strange that I could see everything and everyone so clearly that I was just curious. I wanted to look, like, could I just see just one of these people? Should I look at just one person? And so I just peered off in a direction and looked at a random person. And it was if I could see her up close. It was a woman. She was probably in her late 50s, looked like wavy, kind of blondish hair. And as soon as I looked at her, I could see her clearly. She turned and looked at me and just smiled and nodded. And I just kind of smiled and nodded back, and just an acknowledgement of each other. And it's like, because she knew that I was looking at her. But it wasn't awkward or anything. It was like she knew what I was doing. I was just there for the moment and observing and just looking around. And it was a very mutual thing. It wasn't awkward at all. Also in that moment too, in that space, I could see that there were different levels to things, where people were coming and going from and such. There was one place that seemed like there was a lot more happening, a lot more purposeful things happening. And then there was another place or area or dimension or whatever you want to call it that was just very bright. And all I could feel from looking there was peace and calmness. And then there was beyond that, which I can't really describe very much. And there was a general understanding of things in that whole setting, so much so that the peace that I felt of being there extended beyond me and beyond there and beyond here and beyond everything. It's just this knowing that everything is going to be okay. Everything is okay. But then I did end up back at the hospital, not in my body yet, but I was at the hospital, out of my body. Of course, the only thing there is to do there would be to go see what my family's doing in the waiting room. So that's what I did. I just found myself in there with them, hanging out with them, listening to their conversations, and even chiming in a little bit. That's kind of funny. My significant other at the time, she was having a conversation with my aunt, and I was just kind of encouraging the conversation and talking like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, yeah, you should listen to that and stuff. And it's almost like, that they can still hear you. Like we're all souls inside. So when a soul is talking to another soul, I'm pretty sure you hear it in your soul. It's something like that. I was very confident when I was speaking to my family members who were in their bodies and conscious that a part of them could hear me and understand me, and that what I'm saying to them is not in vain. So that obviously gives me some hope and gives me a lot of optimism, and it gives me a lot of hope about the idea of my past family members and people that I've cared for that passed away, that they still see me, they still hear me, they still come and speak to me. Maybe not all the time. I don't expect there to be haunting going on exactly, but I definitely know that does happen. So one of the bigger takeaways that I've had from the whole thing is just knowing that we do go on, and the people that we've lost, they still exist. They absolutely do. Yeah, that was one of the more intriguing things was remembering that conversation. I have to say, though, I didn't remember that right away. That conversation that my aunt was having at the time with my ex. There was actually a conversation my ex and I were having later on. It's kind of important. Later on, my ex and I were talking about some things. She was complaining about how her mom would beat her with scripture, so to speak, make her feel really guilty and try to manipulate her by quoting the Bible to her and stuff. And I told her, I said, hold on a sec. You've already had this conversation. We don't have to go over this again. I said, yeah, you were talking to my aunt about this. I can't remember where we were, but yeah, you were telling her exactly this, and she already told you. Yeah, she said, oh, honey, no, that's not right, remember? She said you should learn the Bible better than her if that's what she wants to do, so you can fire back when she tries to, manipulate you with that. And I was remembering this, and I was saying this to my ex, and then I looked up at her, and she was like this. And I was like, what? And she said, you can't know that. You cannot know that conversation. You weren't there. And I was like, yeah, I was. What are you talking about? I was right there. I was even telling you that's a great idea, I mean, yeah, I was saying that was good advice. And she said, no, no, you were in surgery. We had that conversation while you were in surgery, and we were in the waiting room. And right then it was like, boom, like a bell rang and everything clicked. And I remembered that whole conversation. I remembered the waiting room and every detail in it, like the way that the chairs were lined out, the location of the TV, the lighting in the room even. I was like, it's kind of dark, and my ex said, oh, they had turned off the lights in one half of the waiting room because my aunt was complaining about it. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. So it was a real moment, really impactful moment for both of us, because it was really great for me to remember that right then. And it was also really shocking to her because she knew beyond any doubt that I definitely was out of my body and that my claims were true, because there's no way I could have known that otherwise.